Hello and welcome to the Euro What, episode number 48 for the week of April 22nd, 2019. I'm Mike McComb and I'm joined today by Ben Smith. Hey Ben.
Hey Mike.
We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. And this week we'll be talking about the middle of the second semifinal. How's it going, Ben?
It's good. It is a rainy Earth Day here in Boston. But we have so much to discuss.
Yes. It was a surprisingly full weekend. We've got parties going on everywhere and, just the Eurovision excitement building up. But before we get to that, I wanted to do some follow-up from last week's episode. So we were talking with Lindsay last week about how Eurovision's not going to be airing on any US network, at least not at this time. Nobody has indicated that they're going to be picking up the airing rights for that. And we talked about watching it if the YouTube geo-block was lifted or getting a VPN. There are other ways to watch the contest that are above board. You don't have to go into the dark web or anything like that. The one that we usually recommend is the Swedish feed. And then listener in Berlin, Christopher, let us know that the German feed is also accessible from the US.
Yeah, and like the second I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I went to a Eurovision party probably years ago at this point where we were watching the German feed.
Yeah, so if anybody else knows of any other feeds, above board ones, not any weird Reddit ones with lots of X's in the URL, just reach out to us on social media or through email and let us know. And we are compiling all of that on a page on how to watch Eurovision in the US. And I want to thank Kathleen from Twitter, who was asking about this a couple weeks ago. This is something that we did last year about trying to find watch parties in the US, and various bars will host watch parties, different cultural centers, especially here in Chicago. There are 3 or 4 cultural centers that host Eurovision watch parties. So if you know anything about any of those, drop us a line so we can add that to our list. That would be awesome. So thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Kathleen. These are great suggestions. And that link will be on our homepage at eurowhat.com as this episode drops.
One other follow-up that we had from last week, we sort of quickly mentioned that interval acts had been named while we were chatting with Lindsay, but we wanted to get to the songs, get to her thoughts on the songs. But now there's just the two of us. Let's discuss all these sweet interval acts.
Yes.
So, as is custom, last year's winner Netta will be opening up the first semifinal, where she'll be performing both Toy and a new song that's dropping sometime this month. Dana International will be performing in semifinal 1 and also popping up at the grand final in some sort of fashion. And then also, we have been promised a daisy chain of Eurovision acts covering other Eurovision acts, with Conchita, Mons, Eleni, and Verka covering one another's songs and then coming together as one big group to perform Hallelujah, one of Israel's winning songs from the 70s. So some of those choices are interesting.
I was trying to remember. There was a contest. It was either 2012 or 2013 where they were doing an ABBA medley. It was probably 2013 since Sweden was hosting that year. It was ABBA medley, and I got the feeling that the recent winners who were part of that medley may have ducked out of the rehearsals early because it was not great. But
what I am interested to see is so Conchita posted a song recently where she looked very different. Well, they looked very different. So that will be interesting.
Yeah, because my understanding was Conchita was no
done?
more. Yeah. Conchita is mort.
So that's going to be a fun surprise.
Yeah.
So gird your loins. So for semifinal 2, the Shelva Band will be performing. The Shelva Band were kind of favored to win Israel's selection process. And then we're having all sorts of difficulties regarding issues with potentially needing to perform on the Sabbath, which, if is against, more Orthodox Jewish customs. That was a whole thing. And they ended up sadly dropping out, but then were given the chance to perform in one of the semifinals as an interval act, because then they will be able to perform without violating that. But it also led to kind of a scramble for, okay, but then which of these other people that is not as favored is going to be our entry? And that's how we got Kobe Marimi.
Yeah. We will get into that in a couple of weeks when we talk about the auto qualifier.
We will still have thoughts.
Yes. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to their performance because the videos that I saw when they were on Israel's version of Rising Star, they're pretty phenomenal. So,
and then in the grand final, we will have the Idan Reichel project, which is going to be him and like 24 other musicians, and then eventually all of the performing acts will join in that. So that could be interesting.
Okay.
That feels like very standard grand final sort of performance material, though, of let's have everybody together in a big global mashup thing.
Yeah.
And those work out to some level of success. And then one thing that I learned from pulling together this list of all of the various interval acts, and I think I probably missed a few, but like some of them are the things like when they do like a little ad break or a little cutaway, because there's a lot of time between everybody performing and the announcement of the results because of tabulation.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, in looking at the slide deck for this, notice that when they were talking about Madonna performing, they were still saying, yeah, we still have a few things to finalize. Which, that makes sense, that there are two parties negotiating here who have different demands.
Yeah, it's sort of making me wonder if it's like when, was it FYR Macedonia, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, when Blackstreet was performing with their entrant, and you kind of got the sense that they found out about it maybe 30 seconds before someone hit send on that press release. I'm curious if that might be the same situation with Madonna. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But yeah, things are being discussed. It's probably most of the way nailed down. Probably. I don't know. That could be just like a fun surprise on Saturday. Just, yeah, we didn't sign that one form in triplicate. There is still going to be a mentalist in the green room, as if 4 hosts wasn't enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so many people just wandering around.
At least it'll be a full show. It'll be nice to hear Netta performing again, especially now that she has a couple of follow-up singles to Toy.
Yeah, I was surprised that Bassa Sababa was not the new track that she's performing.
Yeah, she performed it at least one national final. It's actually doing kind of okay on the US charts, which was kind of surprising to me. She is currently sitting at number 3 on the Dance Club Songs chart. That is the one that Toy reached number 1 over the summer. And that one is one that's kind of driven by surveys of DJs to determine the ranking. But what's really interesting is she's also sitting at number 29 on the Hot Dance Electronic Songs chart. And that one's actually driven by sales data and streaming data. So
okay.
She's got an audience here in the US.
I will say that is the one that I don't get to put an asterisk next to.
Right, exactly. So keeping an eye on that one, because it's on the rise. Like the song as a single's only been like official. I'm not entirely sure how this part of the Billboard charts works, but it's only been about 3 or 4 weeks that she's been making her climb. But she's making moves. So
okay,
go Netta. Good job.
Yeah. Let's see. The big event over the weekend is another one of the pre-party events happen, this time in Madrid. I liked this one a lot, and that's not just because they had like an official national stream going on, which meant that I could sit on my couch on Saturday afternoon and watch it in full without needing to like find someone's illegal stream of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they had like multi-camera going on.
Cameras.
Yeah.
It felt very kind of random how many songs and how much time each artist had on stage. Like,
yeah,
some people would just do their song and then leave.
Mm-hmm.
Others would do their song and then demand that the audience sing the chorus back at them.
Yeah, that was like 90% of them.
Well, yeah, and I feel like it started as like a fun thing with the first one, and then everybody else saw them and like, oh man, I can do that too. And I was just like, okay, cool, we're gonna sing the chorus of this one back at them, and then we're done.
Yeah, it was kind of funny toward the end because Sarah Hatt, representing San Marino, was one of the last acts to go, and he said like, "Oh, my friends were doing this thing that I did in the Netherlands," and it's like, "Oh, he's mad that somebody stole his bits." But he was one of those people that got to perform 2 songs. Like he opened with "I didn't know." Yeah. It seemed like there were a lot of sound problems, which didn't come across on the stream, but like everybody was taking out their inner ear monitor. And Serbuk from Armenia, she was looking mad.
Yeah, she was looking real mad.
Yeah, like she was walking out by the end of her song, and not in a fun way. Like she left the stage, and not a great look at the time.
Some great performances, and it was very refreshing to see just who can perform live, especially because I feel like we like in Amsterdam we had like a few illnesses, so it was nice to see, okay, was that them saying they had a cold, or is that just how they sound?
Yeah, like Greece in particular.
Greece sounded great.
I think Poland was pretty interesting. It's still a little difficult to tell how much was backing track, how much was like pure vocal, but I like that they're kind of moving toward a more natural look. Like I thought they looked great on Saturday, and like they just weren't like completely caked in like 5 inches of makeup, which has been one of the things that's just been making me kind of uncomfortable about their overall aesthetic. But yeah, they just seemed so much less plasticky.
They're finding like a nice median point between traditional Polish music and pop music.
So they're becoming more and more of a wild card for the first semifinal.
Absolutely.
So good on them. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's been one of the ones where every time I see a live performance, I'm like, I'm liking this more. So, well, it's just a complete wild card. Okay, so how are ticket sales going, Mike?
Okay. So,
I thought as much.
That was a cleansing okay, not a the ticket sales are going okay, because they're kind of not.
No, they dropped like part 2 Beyonce style again.
Yeah, there was a little bit more warning. I think it was like 36 hours instead of 18 hours. But
okay, so about as much notice as she gave us for the Homecoming documentary, yes.
Right. And yeah, I was just kind of poking around on the ticket website, just being like, oh, I'm sure everything's sold out by now. And sure enough, not everything was sold out. I mean, the grand final, yes, that is completely sold out. So no surprise there. But looking at the other big events of Eurovision week, semifinal 1, plenty of tickets available. And that's usually the case. In the last 2 years that I've been to Eurovision, I don't think semifinal 1 sold out. It was still a pretty big crowd, but with it being on a Tuesday and at the beginning of a very long week. Yeah. Like the people that are going to that one are the people who are there for the long haul. It's not just like something you go to on a whim, unless you're local. Second semifinal also still has plenty of tickets available. And then the jury final is also has some availability, a little bit more than I would have expected. I thought, like, especially since the grand final sold out, like jury final is the next big ticket. But those are still there, and started kind of looking at the prices, and everything's in Israeli shekel. So pulled out my currency converter app, and I was really shocked at just how expensive these tickets are. So how much would you guess a seat with an obstructed view of the stage for the first semifinal? Like what would you guess that ticket costs?
This is like first semifinal, like a Tuesday night, not a great view.
Right. And for a show that is in all likelihood never going to sell out.
Okay. If I were buying concert tickets like that, one, knowing myself, I already would have bought them by now, would not be dealing with the situation. But this is the reality we live in.
Yeah. Well, and just to be clear, the obstructed view, this is just because it's the cheapest ticket that was listed.
Because it is that is the cheapest ticket. I'm going to go for like arena show level prices and say I'm going to pay like $150.
Oh, wow. Okay. You were actually pretty close. It was $140. Now, the reason why this seems kind of outrageous to me, which I guess it's not so outrageous for you.
Well, no, I'm expecting, I was just thinking, okay, I'm just thinking every time I've looked at like a legacy act coming through Boston playing the TD Garden and going, you want me to pay how much to see Elton John and not even be on the floor?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is the correct attitude that I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, it's $140 or like 500 shekels.
Okay.
Now, for comparison's sake, in Kyiv, for standing on the floor in the fan zone area, which really is the best place to be, in my opinion, it was $50.
What?
In Lisbon, $60 per ticket. And this is after conversion.
Those are reasonable prices.
Yes. Yeah. And like going into other comparisons, like in semifinal 2 in Kyiv, we did have actual seats for that semifinal. It was $80 per. So still like significantly less than the $140. And it was not an obstructed view either. And then for the grand final, let's see, this year, an obstructed view was 850 shekels. So that's going to be running about $200 some dollars.
Okay.
And this is like per ticket. For Kyiv and Lisbon, we spent less than 500 for like
those are
total.
Those are like the prices my friend was discussing for seeing like a K-pop band at a gigantic arena in New Jersey.
They're going to have to be very selective in their camera angles, particularly for the first semifinal, because it's going to look empty if these are the prices like leading up to the show. And it's just like, if you're not already planning on going to the event, I don't know what you're going to do, because there aren't any hotels. So
yeah, there aren't hotels. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah. I mean,
kind of a mess on the logistical end.
Yeah. I mean, if you're wondering like why so many blogs are now offering all of these contests for tickets.
It's because they want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And by them, I mean the people running the Eurovision Song Contest.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
These prices are ridiculous.
That is this week in news. This week in songs. So we are midway through the second semifinal, and we are in our second set of 6 songs. And those songs this week are Denmark, Sweden, Austria, Croatia, Malta, and Lithuania. Kicking that off, we have Denmark and Leonora with Love is Forever.
Love is forever. Love is forever and everyone. Just a taste of love, a taste of what could actually rule both me and you.
And some fun facts about this one. Denmark does the Dansk Melodi Grand Prix. She won that after getting to the super final with 2 other acts. Leonora is a former figure skater. And a thing I did not know before our episode this week is that the song was co-written by one of the writers behind Only Teardrops. What are your thoughts on this one, Mike? How has this one sat with you now that we are deeper and about a month away?
The more I listen to it, the more I'm put off by it. For me, every lyric just feels like a caption to a Minions meme.
Oh wow, that's very spot on.
Yeah, it just kind of triggers this response of like the reductiveness of cancel culture, and just being like, oh, stop fighting, everybody. Just like try to get along. Just like love is the answer to everything. It's just like there's more nuance here, and it just goes back to like I think what I said originally, where it's like Denmark, read the room. It also doesn't help that someone on Twitter a couple weeks ago pointed out that you could sing the chorus of the song, replacing the words with Hatred Mun Sugra. And
oh man, thank you for putting that idea in my brain, because that's what I'm going to do from now on.
Yeah, so I think you could kind of see where my loyalties lie on that one.
Oh yeah, so I keep hearing air quotes around the line, don't get too political, but in kind of like a smarmy sense that that I don't like. And I'm totally on board with, this is the lyrics are the sort of things that you stick on top of like a picture of a sunset on Instagram.
Yeah, or like Grumpy from the Seven Dwarves.
Yeah,
like, just with his arms folded, and
just things that your parents post on Facebook.
Exactly,
because they don't understand how memes work. The thing that makes me less, I don't want to say worried about this one, but that also feels a knock against its favor is that listening to the performances at the pre-parties, the vocal quality has kind of been all over the board on like the higher notes that you need to be hitting.
Granted, like we said earlier that there were like audio issues at this event, but like she was very, very quiet during the first third of the song.
She did not sound great at Madrid.
It sounds like they're keeping the same staging from the national final, which I think might work in its favor because it is one of the stagings that they had where it's building up.
I think as far as that goes, that is a smart idea, and I liked their staging. Like it had like a simplicity and a sweetness that felt like it fit the song, even though the song has kind of soured for me. I had an idea for staging that, I have no contacts in the industry. This is not going to get through to anybody's people. And honestly, this is probably for me watching way too much Twilight Zone lately, because there's a revival, and I've been watching the classic series while reading a book. It doesn't matter. But I just picture this playing in sort of like a weird dystopian Time Enough at Last setting where the nuclear bomb has dropped and we are in the fallout. Like I just want like rubble on stage, kind of bombed out. I don't know how you would do that and how you would then immediately clean it up for the next act that's performing.
Yeah. Who's going before her? Maybe, it would be Romania. I don't expect there to be like a nuclear bomb as part of her performance, but you never know.
Never know.
Things will get spooky, but that is interesting. Yeah, like this does sort of like something that we'd be playing in like the background of like Fallout or something.
That is exactly the reference I was going for. Something kind of Fallout-y. Yeah, just something kind of post-apocalyptic to kind of play against the aggressive cheeriness.
Yeah, which again goes back to just like set the lyrics of Hatred Mun Sugra to like this chipper melody, and this is one where I feel like I want to like it more, but it's just like you said, there's just like a smarm to it.
Yeah, there's a smarm, and I just like the phrase aggressive cheeriness.
Next on our tour of Scandinavia is Sweden and John Lundvik's "Too Late for Love." So a little history about John Lundvik. He finished third in Melfest in 2018 and came back this year and swept the jury, as well as winning the public vote at this year's contest. So he was the bona fide winner of Sweden's Melfest this year. He also wrote UK's entry this year. So that's an interesting circumstance to be in. So doubling his odds of being a possible Eurovision winner. And he is also a former track star. His 100-meter personal record is 10:84. He's fast.
Yeah.
So Ben, you're pretty big on Melfest, and we talked about Melfest pretty extensively, even had that bonus episode. So has your opinion of this changed since we last spoke about it?
That is an interesting question because it kind of has, but also hasn't. Looking at this song in the placement of the semifinal and just sort of the field as a whole, I still think it was the right choice for Sweden of what got into the final. I think that there is a lot to like about this one, but I also feel like there are better songs in the field. I feel like this will do well in this semifinal. I think that I know he can deliver a strong performance, even though I think the final recorded version is maybe a little bit too cleaned up for my liking. From a vocal standpoint, he's very strong, and I've liked what they've done with the staging and kind of the gospeliness of this that's kind of building off of what Austria did last year. But also I'm just like, yeah, this is just going to be in like the whole field. Like I see this easily getting through of the songs in the second semifinal. But I think in the larger field, it's going to do just okay, and I think that's fine.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I think this was the correct entry to come out of Sweden's process. This is one where, when we were talking about the karaoke album last week, I had mentioned that there were some songs where my opinion has changed since listening to those tracks. And this is one where it has changed for the better. Because if you listen to the karaoke version, the backing track of this song is very minimal. And it really highlights how much of a vocal performance this song is and just how strong that vocal performance is. And I'm liking this song more as a pop song, but I'm not sure how I feel about it as a Eurovision entry, if that makes sense. Like, I think it works well, like, as like a radio single and like something that'll pop up on Spotify every now and then. But I'm not, like, just in terms of the staging and just having it kind of pop in a way that doesn't fall into that like love, peace place. I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do with that. And you were giving your critique. You mentioned that this is like a refined version of what Austria did last year. It's still a version of what Austria did last year. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to end up playing for people who were watching last year.
Yeah, and so just thinking, and so I sort of said that I think that this one is going to qualify out of this, but like in the larger field, it might just kind of end up in the middle. Like, one factor that I think might help that is John Lundvik also wrote the UK's entry, which feels very much in the same vein. So I wonder if they are kind of accidentally splitting the vote on their song. I mean, the UK is still the UK, but
yeah, there is that. I think also the performances are going to be different enough. I think he gives a convincing performance of this song where, not to tip my hand about the UK, but there's an authenticity issue with the UK's entry that like I think Sweden has the upper hand there.
Yeah,
so,
they have the upper hand, and like he wrote that song, and like every time I hear it, I do kind of think about what would this sound like with John Lundvik singing this.
I think on the whole, this song is the superior song of the two. So I think he made a good choice for what he sent to Melfest. So
yeah, like if I remember correctly, he was talking about things like, yeah, like we want to do an up-tempo number for Melfest, so we sent Bigger Than Us to the UK of the two. So like we could have had a swap.
Oh yeah,
we could have had John Lundvik singing Bigger Than Us. Usually, I am a big cheerleader for the Nordic nations because as somebody who wants to go to Eurovision, but is also lazy. Those countries are very close to me. It requires less logistical planning. And even though I love logistical planning, it is just easier to think about what the path to visiting a nation running that is. But yeah, like this year is like one of the first years I'm like, yeah, no, this can come somewhere in like the top 10 to 15 and I'd be fine with it.
I think it'll probably do better than that. But
yeah, same. Just kind of leaving Sweden on like a shoulder shrug.
Yeah. Sweden's going to Sweden.
Yeah, like
this is Sweden that I like.
They're very good at what they do.
Yes.
Okay, so we had sort of talked about how Sweden is kind of knocking off what Austria did last year. So let's talk about what Austria is doing this year. They are sending PAENDA, who is singing Limits.
Yeah, I'm talking about and the luck you try to find.
So PAENDA is an established artist in Austria. She has 2 albums, Evolution 1 and Evolution 2. And the song is about pushing herself to exhaustion with music, which I had not realized that beforehand. That does help put the lyrics in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that gets me about this song is that I think part of that whole thinking about exhaustion and limits is that she's singing it at sort of a higher part of her vocal range to kind of illustrate that. But I really dislike that she's singing in like that upper kind of head part of her range that she can't quite hit, and like it just rubs me the wrong way.
I appreciate this song, and I know that like 14-year-old Mike would have probably included this on a bunch of mixtapes and mix CDs with like Sarah McLachlan and Tori Amos and artists of that nature, and just would have been all over this. But yeah, Mike of today, I just don't see how this is going to work as a Eurovision entry.
Oh, yeah.
Like what you were saying about the like upper register that she's singing in, like that was a real struggle at Eurovision in concert, and it sounded like she was trying to adjust halfway through when she realized like, oh, the crowd's really not responding to this. And I think it also was just like she may have like kicked off a little too high, and she's like, oh, I gotta bring this down and like kind of bring it more into like a chest level. And
yeah, like I would love to hear the version of this song that's sung in a range that she can sing for the 3 minutes.
But or at least have variety in range in that 3 minutes, because that's the other thing. It's like it's in that upper register the entire time.
Yeah,
and
I think about songs where the artist kind of sings in a range where they can't fully hit it to illustrate a point, but it's never for the full song.
This does kind of remind me of what Portugal was trying to do last year with O Jardim, which was a song I really, really liked. I think that one might have been served better if it wasn't sung in that like super, super low register the entire song. Like if there was like a little bit more like peak and valley going on. So yeah, if there could be an entry next year that is like the happy medium between O Jardim and Limits, I will be very happy. Like I will love that entry, but like these two extremes are just not quite working.
So thinking of how they're going to stage this, I had an idea. I feel like I did that with Denmark too, but this is a little less out there than that one. And like the music video for this song is very simple. It is essentially just one long zoom. I am terrified they're going to try and do that there. I'm not sure it will work on the Eurovision stage. But like one thing that occurred to me is I would be interested to see what would happen if they stage this where they essentially stage it like Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You style, where it is one unbroken shot of her face.
Oh wow, that would be tough.
It would be tough to do, but I think it would help give this a little bit more power.
I can see that. Yeah, unfortunately, I read an article that said that her sister's going to be joining her on stage, and perhaps like as a backing singer, but if they're trying to include her in the performance, then yeah, just the solid one shot, I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, and man, that would be such a risk for live TV too.
Yeah.
Oof. But
I think this song needs a risk if it's going to get through.
Yeah, or at least something that's going to defy expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what Austria can do at this point, because it just seems like the song is just not resonating with the fandom, and unless it's a rock solid performance, and like I don't even know what a rock solid performance is, because even the studio track is like contains the same issues, because it's like it's the upper register for 3 minutes. So I don't know.
Yeah, like I respect Austria for taking a risk with this one, but I think it's a risk that's not paying off.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. Sorry, Austria. We're just going to apologize.
Just
to
like
every
a super cut of
country.
us apologizing to every country.
Yep. Speaking of, Croatia is sending Roko Blažević with the song "The Dream."
I dream of love. You dream of love. Angels of God. We all dream of love.
So Roko won Dora, which was Croatia's selection process before they took their hiatus, and they brought it back this year. The song was co-written by Jacques Hudek, who represented Croatia in 2017. He was also the runner-up of the last edition of Dora. So nice little full circleness going on there. Roko comes from a family of musicians, and he's done really well on various Croatian singing competitions. He's been referred to as the Croatian Michael Bublé, which is kind of funny because Michael Bublé is of Croatian descent.
Because Michael Bublé is the Croatian Michael Bublé.
So there's that. Yeah, what do you think of this song? I feel like we kind of glossed over it the last time.
Yeah, we kind of glossed over it last time, which I think is in its favor because like I've sat with it more and like. I keep coming back to this one, and like it's kind of grown on me now that we have like a studio version, and I've listened to him sing it live, and it turns out he can sing it live very well. I am concerned about the staging because just thinking about past Croatian performances, I don't think they know subtlety. And like, I did do a quick little Google Translate check before this, and there is a word for subtle in the Croatian language, but the video for this one is not subtle at all. Because it is like half him performing the song kind of Phantom of the Opera style in like a bunch of fog, in like a caverny space, and then also just footage of bombs.
Yeah, and like with the Phantom of the Opera stuff, it's really weird because they show him like playing a piano.
And there's no piano in the song.
Yeah, so not really sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like, I really like his voice, and he just has a gravitas on stage.
One thing I almost wish they had done, because the song is like mostly in English, and then it has that verse at the end that's in the Croatian, or not the verse, the chorus. And I wish that the song was like mostly in Croatian with like an English chorus at the end.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah, because like I really like the portion where he's not singing in English.
The thought that I had of like what I wish would happen would be that he and Sergei Lazarev would swap songs. Like I think if he did a cover of Scream, that would be phenomenal, or at least kind of in the lack of subtlety realm that I think
that Croatia goes to so often.
Yeah. Like I think he could sell the sort of histrionics of that of that song, and granted that's not going to happen. I mean, there may be a like video of him at like the Fan Village or something doing a cover of it, but yeah, like I really like his voice. I just wish that this wasn't the song that was the delivery mechanism for it. Like I think he deserves a song with, I don't even know if it's like a lyrics thing, or there's just like kind of a goofy earnestness about it.
I have even come around on like the original staging of this, where he's like dressed the teen angel in like a high school production of Grease. And like I almost want that, but yeah, like the white leather biker jacket plus like the big Victoria's Secret angel wings, just
it's a look.
It's a look, and like because he's just sort of singing with so much gravitas, you kind of forget for like a few minutes that he's dressed like this.
Yeah. And also, like, his look kind of reminds me of, like, a late 90s CD-ROM adventure game where you have to pick, like, either a fighter, a rogue, or wizard, and then you, like, assign points. Like, he looks like kind of the default character skin for that.
Oh, yeah, no, he totally looks like if you had a bunch of sliders and you clicked randomize that might pop up.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I could see the juries maybe responding to this one. Like, if they're looking at technique, I think he's got that on lock. If they're focusing more on the song's content, I think that's where he's going to get into a little bit of trouble. And it's not his fault. It's just like, it's the song. And he's the delivery mechanism for it.
Well, yeah. The English lyrics are a bit, for lack of a better term, schmoopy. They're a little kind of overly sweet and kind of love, peace.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like if they were in Croatian, we wouldn't be noticing that as much, but my ears are in English.
Right.
I would like to see this one sneak through because the vocal performance is very good.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah. Is that initially I was very much, this is ridiculous, no thank you, Croatia, but now I'm just like, no, I like this.
Yeah. Which is kind of their game plan. Like, that's exactly what Jacques Hudek did.
That is what Jacques Hudek did, is that by the end I was like, okay, cool, I get it now.
Yeah, and they know how to use that LED screen, and they're gonna have them at their disposal.
Please pick something like slightly less, just like something that's like whatever the next step down from Bombs is in terms of disturbing footage.
Yeah. Well,
just like, can we not like go at it at like a 13? Can we bring it down to a 7?
yeah.
Michela.
Up next is Malta and Michela and Chameleon. So Michela won Malta's X Factor this year, which is why I had the announcer footage in my head. One of the songwriters has written for Ashley Tisdale, the Jonas Brothers, and Miklos Joseph's Me Gusta. Per Wikipedia, although citation needed, the song has received quite positive reviews from music critics and experienced journalists. Please show your work. But so just that, well, actually no, I will hand this over to you. What are your thoughts on this song, Mike? Because I feel like you had a lot of them.
Okay, so I've calmed down since we last spoke about this one. In fairness, like we had about 45 minutes between when that song dropped and when we recorded.
We had to talk about it.
My reaction to it. So as much as I hate the concept of reaction vid, that is about as close as I'm going to get to a reaction vid.
That is about as close as we get here at the Euro What.
I am still not fully on board with this song. I feel like Malta has kind of painted themselves into a weird corner, and I'm not sure why they did that to themselves. So, like, the pacing of the song, like just the tempo of it, it feels like a sort of like a performance from like week 1 of Dancing with the Stars when it's a celebrity who like cannot dance, so they just have them doing like 1 2 3 1 2 3 across the floor, and you can like see them counting their steps and all of that, and it's just kind of plodding along that way. And it just makes me wonder how this is going to be staged, because the tempo's not really at a beat that like lends itself to like a dance heavy performance. Right. But it's also like she can't just stand there center stage. So like there needs to be some sort of movement going on. And like just the content of the song is really weird for somebody who's starting off their music career. Like you just won a show and now you're saying, oh, I'm a chameleon. I can do this. I can do that. Like it's like just saying that I don't have an identity at this moment. It's like, you really need to figure that out. You just won X Factor. Like pick a lane.
With regard to the song, like this feels like something that would come out of like one of those songwriting camps where you have like seven different songwriters all trying to fight over who's going to write the top line, who's going to write the hook. And as a result, you get like these bits and pieces that are very catchy, but as a unified whole makes no sense.
Right.
I feel like what disappoints me so much is like the one clip I had of Michela before this was her singing Shallow from A Star Is Born. I feel like last week we had to like slog through like six various ballads that we were all kind of lukewarm about. This is like the one time where I want a ballad from this person, from this artist, because she had some really, really great qualities to her voice on the various peaks and valleys of Shallow that I feel would be better served by slower material. And like this just ends up sounding like a filler track that's like 2/3 of the way down in like an auto-generated Spotify playlist.
Yeah. And just going to the whole peaks and valleys thing, this song doesn't have that.
It doesn't have any.
It just stays at this like I think in the last episode I said it just goes to a 3, maybe a 4, and then just doesn't leave there.
Yeah, there are like a few nice moments in the chorus towards the end where she's like really belting it out, but that's about it.
Is that too little too late? It is the thing. I mean, it's just like, are people, I mean, I suppose there's the theory that it's like, oh, if people just remember the last 30 seconds of the song, that's all that matters, and that's what's going to get them to pick up the phone. But if they've already like checked off someone in the first 30 seconds, then I know this one is pretty popular with the fandom, but I think this is going to come down to what the performance is going to be like, because I have no idea what they're going to do. Yeah.
And like this is the smallest of nits to pick. But when I hear Come a Chameleon, I think of a different song. And like if you're going to do that, you need to be better than the song it reminds me of.
Right. I want Malta to do well.
Yeah,
I want so well for a while.
Yeah. As I have said on the program before, Tyra yelling at Tiffany.gif.
Yeah.
Malta, don't you know that you're beautiful? You're a pack of wolves with a heart of gold.
Speaking of groups of animals, the last one we're talking about today is Lithuania and Jurijus with Run with the Lions.
'Cause we got a love that can't be caged. We got a love that can't be caged. Come on, let your feelings down. Come on, get your freedom now. Run wild. Run with the lions.
Okay, so when we last talked about this one, Ben, you were pitching your ABC drama pilot that would use this as the theme song.
Mm-hmm.
And been thinking about it, have a couple of notes, just kind of want to see what you think. Instead of the main ABC network, moving it over to Freeform.
Okay, I'm on board, yes.
Yeah. And rather than it being about a family, having it be about a high school track team. And their mascot is the lion.
Is a lion, yes.
Yeah. And just make it that much more literal.
Okay,
Stuff happens.
Can
I
the
don't
main
know.
coach character's last name be Lions, but with a Y, just so that it really hammers the point home?
That would be good.
Okay.
So like Lions, Cubs or something.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll talk off air.
We can put together a spec script for this.
There we go. Yes. All right. Back to the task at hand. Jurijus won the Lithuania Marathon. He ran with the Lions all the way to the end, and he won the jury and the televote. He has had previous Eurovision and national final experience. He was part of the backing singers for Lithuania's 2015 performance, the one where everybody started making out on stage.
Oh yeah, like you had put team makeup session in the notes. I'm like, I do not recall that from 2015, and I went back to the video, and yes.
Yep. So good on that. And then he also provided the falsetto vocal that Lolita Zero, who competed in the Lithuanian Marathon in 2017, was lip syncing to as she was smashing watermelons with her elbow. Yay.
I'm going to go need to look that video up because all of those words were somehow a sentence together.
Oh, yeah. It totally makes sense in context. But
I hope so.
So, yeah, I mean, he's got a pretty good vocal range, which is, I think, is showcased here in this song. And, yeah, what do you think about this entry?
So I watched this one live at Madrid this weekend, and I did not think the vocal was super great on the high end, which is not great because this song does that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, like this one keeps ending up at the bottom of my rankings for semifinal 2, and not necessarily because it's a bad song, but because when I compare it to other songs, it is blander, and I want the more interesting things.
Yeah, I think that's where I've landed as well. Like my note is there's nothing objectively bad about the song. I mean, the lyrics can be a little trite, but I mean, as a Eurovision song, that's kind of par for the course.
Yeah, like you pick your marathon, you pick your metaphor and you stick to it.
Yeah, this song is really beige. I still feel like it could do okay. Like, and I don't know why. Like, I feel like that's Lithuania's secret sauce. Like, they could just take a song that is kind of beige, but somehow they're able to do something with it that gives it enough oomph to at least qualify.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know what they're going to do with it this year, though, because they've said that they're going to keep a lot of the same staging from what they did at the national final, and I thought that was beige staging. Whereas, like, last year, they surprised us, but they also changed up the staging to make it really, really poignant.
Right. And I don't think there's really anything that's going to make this song poignant.
No, like you can't just have like a loved one come out on stage at the end of this one to make it all better.
Yeah. Unless they're being chased by a lion.
Yeah, please release an actual lion on stage.
Well, wait. Sorry. No live animals. I forgot about that rule.
No. Someone in a lion costume. I don't think that the marathon format works for entries that I like from Lithuania.
Okay.
Because just thinking through like the last few years, because like last year's entry, I thought the way that they staged it was very powerful, but overall I had been kind of lukewarm on that song. Well, actually, no. Donny Martel like got through a couple times and that worked out.
Yeah.
But that was I don't know. Like I'm not sure it's producing the best entries with the best chances.
Yeah. Or at least they're not producing like entries that make you think, oh, this could be a Eurovision winner. But it does, like, they do well enough for the most part. Yeah. And like, I think back to like Reign of Revolution from 2017. And yeah, I think that one is an understated classic, but we don't need to get into that.
Like,
now. So like,
I feel like that one had much more going on for it though. Like there was a lot of that song and there was not as much of this one.
Right. Yeah. And it was really kind of striking at the Madrid performance where it's just like, it starts right away. And like, he got kind of kicked off quietly, like the like the microphone wasn't ready for him at that point. So like he was starting, but the performance hadn't started, if that makes sense. So yeah, like it's walking a very tight rope, and I feel like they're just making their jobs more difficult than it needs to be. So yeah, that was another 6 songs that we talked about.
Those
the second
certainly
semifinal.
were 6 songs, and there were 6 of them.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about the 12 that we've talked about so far?
Ooh, the 12. Okay, so this this has been such an interesting batch. Like the second semifinal, wow, I did not picture that one shaking out the way it did so far. I have songs that I think are going to go through, like Sweden. I have songs that I would like to see go through, like Croatia, and like that one's grown on me, and that's been a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I mean, for me, we've talked about 12. We're talking about 6 more next week.
There are a lot of songs that should be very lucky that they are in this semifinal, I think. Because if they were in semifinal 1, we would not be talking about them.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's just like, just by the power of math, of the 12 that we've talked about so far, at least 4 of them are getting through. Like,
yeah. Okay, so I just pulled up I pulled up the full list of 12 because I could not recall all the songs we talked about last week, which is bad for those songs.
Right. Like, I could not recall the 6 that we were talking about this evening. Like, right before we were recording, I had to pull up my notes. But yeah, like, I think Sweden is a lock for one of those spots. Switzerland
is getting through, even though I do not like the song.
Right. Armenia,
I think Armenia is strong enough to get through.
Yeah, but then, like,
Romania,
the number 4
I think
spot.
It's not going to deal with the problem they did last year of coming in 11th.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to qualify. Like, I feel like at least the number 4 spot, it's anybody's guess who that's going to go to. Like, one of these 12 songs is going to get that number 4 spot.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Romania has a lock on it. I don't feel like anybody has a lock on it.
Yeah.
And this is just such a weird semifinal.
Yeah. As we got all these songs listed, and that, again, part of that is just getting all of them together, like, did not see this happening. And like, wow, the process of sort of scheduling which song goes when for this semifinal, I do not envy the people who had to do that with some of these.
And it's weird that it's kind of mirroring the structure of the first semifinal, where it's like, oh, it's just backloaded.
Yeah, it's just like there are these 12 songs and then 6 bangers. Yeah, spoilers for next week. But like, all of the good ones are there.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Euro What. Thanks for listening. The Euro What podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
That's me.
You can find us on our website at eurowhat.com and on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Eurowhat. We'd love to hear your questions and comments. You can subscribe to the Euro What on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or the podcast app of your choice. Rating and reviewing the podcast when you subscribe also helps other Eurovision fans find us. We'll be back next week to try to make sense of what's new in Eurovision.